But tonight I want to look at our mind and how we've been taught to get into a position in our mind where we hold our position and don't hold another's position. We live in an age where mind has become king. All of us have been through an education where 99% of the content of the education was to form our mind, to shape our mind, to pass exams, to remember all the many things that we were told to remember. And our basic education is to shape the mind. We've had 12 years of school, 8 years of university. So we all know a lot in our mind. We haven't had 12 hours education in relationship. We haven't had education in emotion. We haven't had education in community, in connectivity, and how to live in communion with others in such a way that there's a creative process happening. Each of our body is a communion of many different parts that work in beautiful unity. But as people, we haven't even begun to understand how to live together. We stick together if we think the same way. If we're in a group that all has the same idea, but then we say, well, that group's wrong, and that group's wrong, our group's right. So we form these little cohorts, these groups, which are actually stuck groups because they can't incorporate others. They sort of, they form us and them groups. And even, doctors don't talk to engineers, don't talk to architects. It's not only in terms of community, it's in terms of expression of our profession, of what we do, how we create society, how we sustain and maintain society. So the way our mind works has got something really fundamentally skewed because it tends to get us into positions that are untenable. And the mind talk is just an expression of that. And so, if we want to be in the business of change, we need to understand what is blocking us from changing. Why don't we change? I remember asking a mentor of mine, a wise guy, I said, Hans, why do people not change? He said, they haven't suffered. He said, suffering is the only thing that makes people change. Because when your position is intolerable, you say, I can't stand this anymore. There must be another way. And then our mind, we sort of override our mind and go talk to somebody or do something different. But until then, we keep justifying, we keep accommodating, we keep managing, we keep trying to press this thing that we call our reality into a universal position. And it doesn't sustain. So if you want to change, ask yourself why. Ask yourself what it is that you're holding on to. And it's not that we're bad in the way that we want to deceive. We've just got into a way of seeing that has become rigid. And it gets worse with time. It gets, with time we become more and more entrenched in a position, and it's harder and harder to change. And people only usually change when they have a crisis, a bankruptcy or a divorce or a heart attack or a war, or when there's something that shakes everything, then we're forced out of our position and we're having to say, well, there must be another way. And our survival instinct kicks in, and we find amazingly we can actually do different things or change our thinking or have a whole different way of going. I remember we immigrated from Italy, and how my father used to say, in Italy, it's very bureaucratic. The red tape to do anything is endless. And today I was talking to Giovanni about, how difficult, in Italy, I can't go and own a car there because the red tape is impossible. It's just like endless, and to the point where I can't do it. Now, anybody here can own a car. It's like, so, and my dad used to say, in Italy, the Romans conquered the world, and they still stuck in the hole that they created for themselves. So how does humanity not get into a place where it gets itself jammed or stuck? And I believe our mind is really the place where a lot of this happens. And as I said, our education has already set us up because it says the mind is everything. We'll shape the mind, we'll form the mind, we'll educate the mind. We're not too worried about the rest. And sometimes I'm trying to teach people intuition. How do you teach intuition? because there's no logic, there's no proof, there's no, how do you know? I don't know, I just know. How do you get to that point? Education doesn't go there. How do you teach emotion? How do you develop an emotional sensitivity and discernment which actually knows how to respond emotionally in an appropriate way? Well, our mind can't do it. Our mind does not do emotion. It responds to emotion. When there's a problem, it says, what's going on? There was a noise. I don't know what that noise is. Maybe I should panic. So your body panics. You feel the anxiety in your body, but the mind is triggering it, but it's not actually feeling the anxiety itself. It just gets overwhelmed by the anxiety because your body's in a panic attack. So our mind has become a place where it's almost like inviolable. And our education is the beginning of that, but we also live in a time where it's like when we say, I know, we think we know. We know in our mind, but we don't necessarily know in our body. We don't know in our experience. But when we think we know, then we believe we don't need to know. I know that. I know that person. I know that place. I know that thing. But the minute we say we know, then we stop looking, we stop inquiring, we stop wondering, we stop looking again, we stop exploring. So we block our own knowing, we block our own seeing. I mean, today, what did you see? Well, you saw what you wanted to see. You didn't see what you didn't want to see. So we shape the way we see reality. You'll walk past things and not see them because you're not looking for them. A child will look around and will have no frame to the looking. We direct our looking, and you want to know what a person is thinking, look where their eyes are looking. And you know exactly, because our eyes are focused on where our mind is, and it's all there. And so we've, in many ways, we've lost the ability to wonder, with an A and with an O, to wander and to just be unrestricted or unmanaged or undeveloped. When last did you spend time just chilling, just doing nothing, just not directed, exploring, wandering around, just wandering without a direction or without a motivation or a sort of goal in mind?